The content of the audiovisual mainly consists of information we got from Chapter 12, acculturation, culture shock, and intercultural competence in the book. These are the theoretical aspects we derived from the book. When people move to a new country, they take with them the values, beliefs, customs, and behaviors of their old culture. Often the values, beliefs, customs, and behaviors of the native culture clash with those of the new culture. This can result in disorientation, misunderstandings, conflict, stress, and even anxiety. Researchers call this a culture shock. There are 4 stages you go through when experiencing a culture shock: the tourist stage, also known as the honeymoon stage, culture shock, the adjustment stage, and the adaptation stage, also known as acculturation. In the tourist stage, one experiences the differences between the known and the new culture as exciting. The first weeks, most things seem to be fascinating. During the culture shock stage, what was perceived as positive in the first stage now turns into stress. The overload of new values, beliefs, customs, and behaviors cause confusion, and you feel like you're no longer in control. As a result, you can become frustrated. In the adjustment stage, you are beginning to see the differences between your culture and that of your host country differently, and you will start to find individual problem-solving strategies to deal with your new environment. This is a gradual and slow process with possibly a few setbacks now and then. In the adaptation stage, you're adapting, obviously. You are now able to value the differences between the cultures, and you have developed a better understanding of them. In addition to that, your self-confidence is growing and you're becoming bicultural. How to manage a culture shock. We used some tips from the book, like learn basic verbal and non-verbal language skills and develop intercultural relationships, but we also found some other tips on how to manage a culture shock. The main goal of our audiovisual is to help international students to manage a culture shock. Our main target audience are international students. International students might experience a culture shock when they move to a different country to study there, for example in the Netherlands. This video also provides Dutch students with information about culture shock, which they may need to be able to support international students when they are going through a culture shock. I believe we achieved our goal, especially the last part of our audiovisual where we talk about the greatest difficulties for international students and how to manage a culture shock are focused on achieving our goal. I think the interviews we did with a few international students also provide good information on how to manage a culture shock because you get to see real-life problems and how these people dealt with these problems. If I had to do this assignment again, I would probably try to find some more sources to support the theory we used from the books, just to have a little bit more information than we do now. My critical question regarding the content of the audiovisual is, what is the difference between the adjustment stage and the adaptation stage? When you are in the adjustment stage, you are beginning to see the difference between your culture and that of your host country in a different way, and you will start to find individual problem-solving strategies to deal with your new environment. However, in the adaptation stage, you are able to value these differences and you have developed a better understanding for them. In addition to that, your self-confidence is growing and you are becoming bicultural. Before we did this assignment, I didn't even know that something like a culture shock existed. Sure, I knew some cultures are very different from other cultures and that you can be in shock when you meet a new culture, but I didn't know that you can actually experience a culture shock by going through different phases. In addition to that, I gained more understanding about what my fellow students, the international students, might be going through.